The seeds of the First World War were sown in the decades leading up to 1914. Europe, at the dawn of the 20th century, was a cauldron of competing nationalisms, imperial ambitions, and a complex web of alliances. The great powers of Europe, Great Britain, France, Germany, Austria-Hungary, and Russia, engaged in a dangerous game of brinkmanship. Nationalism stirred unrest within empires and fueled aspirations for independence. The Austro-Hungarian Empire faced growing internal pressures from groups seeking autonomy. In the Balkans, Serbian nationalism directly challenged Austrian influence. Imperial rivalries also played a crucial role. Competition for colonies heightened tensions among the European powers. The scramble for resources and markets created a climate of suspicion and distrust. The Moroccan crises of 1905 and 1911 brought Europe closer to the brink. A complex system of alliances underpinned these tensions. These alliances transformed a regional conflict into a global war. Germany and Austria-Hungary formed the Central Powers, while France, Russia, and Great Britain constituted the Triple Entente. The assassination of Archduke Franz Ferdinand in Sarajevo on June 28, 1914, ignited the powder keg. Austria-Hungary, with German backing, issued an ultimatum to Serbia, leading to war on July 28, 1914. Russia mobilized in support of Serbia, prompting Germany to declare war on Russia and France. When Germany invaded Belgium, Great Britain declared war on Germany, marking the beginning of the First World War. The summer of 1914 witnessed a continent consumed by war. The initial German offensive, based on the Schlieffen Plan, aimed for a swift knockout blow against France by outflanking French defenses through Belgium. This plan, however, faltered at the Battle of the Marne in September 1914, where French and British forces halted the German advance, ending hopes for a quick victory. On the Eastern Front, Russia, despite being ill-prepared for a major war, launched an offensive against Germany and Austria-Hungary. The Russians achieved some initial successes, but German forces, under the command of Generals Paul von Hindenburg and Erich Ludendorff, inflicted crushing defeats at the battles of Tannenberg and Masurian Lakes, effectively halting the Russian advance. The early months of the war shattered the illusion of a short and decisive conflict. The failure of the Schlieffen Plan on the Western Front and the bloody stalemate that ensued resulted in unprecedented casualties. The war, initially envisioned as a swift and glorious affair, descended into a brutal war of attrition. The early battles of World War I exposed the limitations of 19th century military tactics in the face of 20th century weaponry. The advent of the machine gun, the artillery barrage, and chemical weapons transformed the battlefield into a killing field. Trench warfare, a defining feature of the Western Front, emerged as a brutal and costly form of warfare, characterized by static lines, heavy casualties, and miserable living conditions. The Western Front, stretching from the English Channel to the Swiss border, became synonymous with the horrors of trench warfare. Both sides dug in, creating elaborate trench systems protected by barbed wire, machine guns, and artillery. Life in the trenches was a grueling test of human endurance. Soldiers faced constant bombardment, the ever-present threat of snipers, and diseases that thrived in the unsanitary conditions. The war on the Western Front was characterized by a series of costly and often indecisive battles. The Battle of Verdun, fought between February and December 1916, epitomized the brutality of attrition warfare. German forces, aiming to bleed France white, launched a massive assault on the fortress city of Verdun. The French, determined to hold their ground, endured relentless bombardment and fierce fighting, suffering immense casualties. Despite the heavy losses, the French ultimately held Verdun, inflicting heavy casualties on the Germans as well. The Battle of the Somme, launched in July 1916 by the British and French armies, aimed to relieve pressure on Verdun and achieve a decisive breakthrough. The first day of the Somme offensive, July 1, 1916, remains the bloodiest day in British military history, with over 57,000 British casualties. Despite initial gains, the Somme offensive, like Verdun, devolved into a bloody stalemate, resulting in over 1 million casualties on both sides with minimal territorial gains. These battles, while strategically inconclusive, had a profound impact on the morale of the troops and the populations back home. The staggering losses and the lack of decisive victories eroded public support for the war and fueled anti-war sentiment. The stalemate on the Western Front demonstrated the limitations of offensive warfare in the face of modern weaponry and the resilience of the defenses.